Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Umut. Today I'm going to introduce you my brand new plugin, Relativity plugin. Well, before we start, you're probably going to ask, what does this plugin exactly do and how does it do that? Well, I'm going to show what does the plugin do, and in the second part I will explain how does it do that. So if you do not want to get bored by the terminology and the complicated stuff, you can just skip the second part. Well, before we start, I want you to know how does general relativity works, because it's the skeleton of my plugin. So if you just want to use the plugin, I mean, you do not have to know complicated math and stuff, but just to be sure using this plugin, just to use this plugin correct, I want you to know that. So if you do not know, the general relativity is a theory of gravitation that was developed by Albert Einstein. It explains how gravity works by describing gravity as a curvature of space-time caused by the presence of mass or energy. In simple terms, imagine space-time as a rubber sheet. When a massive object is placed on a sheet, it causes the sheet to curve and bend. The curvature creates what we experience as the force of gravity. So that's actually what does my plugin do as well. Objects moving near the massive objects just going to follow the curve of the sheet, making it seem as if they're being pulled towards the massive object. So that's exactly what my plugin is doing. I mean, general relativity has been extremely successful in explaining gravitational phenomena and such as the orbits of planets and the behavior of black holes. So it's pretty useful, and I'm just going to simulate it in Minecraft with my plugin. Okay, so let's get started. And I want to note that my English is not pretty well, so if I just make wrong synthesis, it's my bad. Sorry about my English. Okay, well, let's get started. How do you use this plugin? Let's see what does this plugin actually do. So I'm just going to create a singularity with mass, so it's just going to bend the space-time, as I just said. I'm creating a polar with using create polar command and setting the object mass 100. No, it's actually too much for the beginning, so I'm just going to be with 5. Okay, now there is an object with 5 mass. So what does exactly mass do? Well, I'm just going to explain the details in the second part, so I'm not going to bore you with that details. But more mass means more gravitational force. I mean gravitational force. So if you just set it to 100 or 1,000, it will just the every single entity that you just add mass will just going to get pulled by this thing. So do not play it that much. So do not set it that much. Well, let's just spawn an entity. It can be any entity, by the way. I mean, like the living ones, of course. The arrows and stuff is set it by default, so you don't have to just add mass to that. Sorry. Let's spawn a creeper. Well, okay. Now I'm just going to spawn a creeper and let's see what happens. Nothing happens, because it doesn't actually has a mass, because there isn't such a thing as mass in Minecraft, so we're just going to have to add it. Well, how do we add mass to entities? It's actually pretty simple. Just right click it, and then sorry about the Turkish titles. I was making this plugin Turkish, and just said that this plugin should be a global plugin. So I'm just making this video in English, but I will just change the titles. Don't worry. Well, it actually says that make the mass of the object 15 less, 10 less, 5 less, and you know, one less, sorry. And you know, it's the adding part and it's the removing part of the mass. So I'm just going to add one mass to object. Let's see what happens. As you can just see that it's getting pulled by the object with mass, because you know, it's actually pretty normal because you know, it has more mass than that. I mean, it's not because of that, because you know, the force of the pulling power of this object to this is actually equals to this object's gravitational pull to this. I mean, I can just explain it because you know, because of my English, sorry. But what I mean is, what I meant was the gravitational force caused by the creeper on the column is equals to gravitational force caused by the column onto the creeper. I just fucked up here in the video, so sorry about my English again. Let's continue. As you can just see that actually we didn't see much because you know, it's not actually orbiting or doing something like that. So I just added this dispenser that you can just see the orbiting thing. So I just found a arrow and nothing actually happened because you know, 5 mass is not that much. So I'm just going to remove this puller by using delete puller. Okay, it's gone. I'm just going to create another puller which has probably 10 mass is enough, but I don't know. Let's say 15. Okay, we just set the mass of this object. So let's see what happens when we shoot an arrow. As you can just see, it's orbiting, and you know, it's getting closer, and when it's just gets to the center of the object, it just gets a massive amount of force and it just goes away. I mean, it's just pushing it with a massive amount of force. That's because of the formula, by the way. It's not because of me, but as you can just see, I mean, you can just see. Okay, so as you can see, it gets closer, and when it's too close to the center, you'll see what happens. I mean, it's getting pulled normally, but when it's too close, as you can just see, when it's you know, the distance between the object and the, you know, the other object, when the distance is lesser than 1, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but when it gets to this close, it just creates a massive amount of force, so it's just push it out the entity. Okay, now I just want you to show you that the realism of, I don't know, is this the right word, but how realistic is that? So I'm just going to delete the polar. Okay, now let's say there is a, you know, object with 10 mass right over here, and on the other side, I mean, the distance between this and this is equals to this and this. By the way, I just you know, counted. Well, okay, now I'm just going to jump over here, and you know, it's exactly the same location. So the only difference between this polar and this polar is the mass. So you're just going to see what happens. Well, you know, this dispenser is closer to this, right? But this one has bigger mass. So let's see what happens. As you can just see that the dispenser just goes straight for a while, but then the gravitation of this polar gets too big, and you know, it gets orbiting. It's orbiting to this polar. So you're just seeing what happens. Like it's just, of course this can happen too, because you know, it's actually because of the dispenser, because you know, it's not actually shooting the arrow to a straight line. It's just, you know, there's a little bit random chance to you know, shoot it to this way or this way. So sometimes this thing can just go to this way, sorry. Yeah, trying stuff is pretty awesome with this plugin. I'm not going to, you know, do this in the whole video. So okay, I think it's enough. As you can see that it's too realistic. I mean, it's actually the real formula, so there's no point that saying it's realistic because it's real. I mean, that the real I just use the real formula. So this is what will happen in the real world. I mean, of course there's some you know, differences, but it's actually what happens in the real world. So yeah. Okay, now I want you to show you one last thing, and I will just go to there to show you another thing. So there is an object with 20 mass and there is an object with 10 mass. So I'll just add 10 mass again to this corner. I mean, this pillar. I mean, what do you call that? A pillar? I don't know. I'm just going to add 10 more mass to this pillar. Create pillar 10. As you can see now, there is, I mean, you can just see it, sorry, but there's 2 object with 10 mass, which means that the mass of here equals the mass of here. So what should happen is the dispenser in here should just shoot the arrow, and the arrow that has been shooted should orbit like this, and this one should orbit like this. Let's see if it happens. Yes, it happens, and let's see this, and yes, it happens. So it's pretty realistic. So I don't know anything to say anymore because that's pretty much. It's actually, there is one more thing that I can just show you that I didn't even know until I make this plugin. I mean, I just discovered it, and it's actually pretty cool. I just learned something from Minecraft, and it's physics, so it's so cool. Well, let's just remove this pullers, delete puller. Okay, now I just deleted them, and let's go there. From this point on in the video, I have talked a lot about empty subjects, so from now on I will finish the video by speaking aloud. If an object has a negative mass, it is pushed rather than attracting other objects, and it is attracted rather than pushed by the other objects. Actually, I was going to show this in the video and move on to the mod section, but I talked about this for 10 minutes, so the video was too long. I'll just end the video by introducing the mods, and I will end the video. So the first mod is the mod. When the object has this mod, the object is no longer affected by other gravitational forces, but the mass attraction it applies to other objects continues. And the second mod is the affected mod. When an object has this mod, the object no longer has its own mass attraction, but is affected by the mass attraction of the other objects. Actually, these were all the things that I wanted to explain. I did not want to unnecessarily prolong the video, so I felt the need to speak this out loud. If you liked my plugin, you can subscribe to my channel and like the video. If you have any suggestions for this plugin, you can mention them in the comment section. If you want to download the plugin, you can write me on Discord and I'll just send it to you. It's not for sale or something, I will just send it. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.